Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2018 Career Mode, episode number 60 today for the USA Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Japanese Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A really great episode, a titanic battle between myself and Fernando Alonso, and a lot of action there around Suzuka. But going into this one then, obviously we come to this Grand Prix as, spoiler alert, Constructors Champions. We've won it early with 4 races to go. McLaren became World Champions with the 1-2 we had at the Japanese Grand Prix. So looking forward to this one. It's now just a straight fight between me and Fernando Alonso for the last 4 rounds for the Drivers' Championship. USA, Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. Going into this then, looks like a lot of teams are pretty much preserving all their R&D points then for the R&D reset, essentially. Ferrari come here with a tiny upgrade, actually, but pretty much every single team is, you can clearly see, compared to earlier on in the season, the development rate slowed down so much because all of us are trying to save points then for the rule regulation reset that's going to go into Season 3 to Season 4. Obviously, the department's getting a reset of the aerodynamics and the chassis. If you didn't know, that was shown at the Russian Grand Prix episode, that those 2 departments would be reset. So I think it's going to be a bit of a slower rate of development as we go to the end of the season. It's really just going to be about actually the actual race performance and how we do on track rather than what we do in the factory. So let's go on to Saturday then. Looks like there could be some rain. So USA is already a difficult circuit anyway. I don't know about any of you guys, but for me, I've always struggled against the AI around COTA. They're very consistent, very fast, especially in sectors 2 and 3. I can gain time back in sector 1, but in the last 2 sectors, they're very quick. So it's going to be a tough weekend nonetheless, and even tougher because it looks like there'd be some rain forecast for Saturday. So let's try and see what we can do, but I'm not getting my hopes up here because it's going to be heavy rain, but I'll have to make the most of it. Let's go.
We're expecting qualifying to start any minute here in Austin, Texas, where drivers will be hoping to top the timesheets today and be ready for tomorrow's US Grand Prix.
So pretty treacherous conditions here around COTA, very much 2015 kind of vibes almost, when the entire circuit was a complete washout really on Saturday and Sunday when it went from wet to dry. At the moment though, it's going to be staying all wet this entire Saturday, and we're going to be staying on these full wet tyres the entire time. So we go through on our first final lap, then you can see very timid into turn 1 and pretty much tiptoeing around because we filled up on fuel for about 4 laps worth of fuel. So maximum fuel flow, that should last us just about over 2 laps then. So we can go for 2 runs, one after the other, and just try and improve and use the first lap as a bit of a banker lap essentially, and try and find the time on the second lap. The first lap is really just a throwaway one that we're going to use as a way to kind of measure the yardstick second lap. So we go into turn 1 of the second flyer, already getting way more time than we did on that first one. A little bit more confident on the brakes. You're just a bit more confident also on the turn in. When you can apply the throttle, you just gain that knowledge on that first lap, and then you use that in the second lap to go forth. So you can see what I mean by losing time in the second and third sector, because you can see I was very much up in the first sector, but then I lost it all in those kind of corners in sector 3, and I'm trying to gain it back desperately in the last couple of corners, but I already lost a fair bit of time in the stadium section where the AI are so good at carrying speed, and I've just never been able to carry the same amount of speed, and we have a bit of a mistake in the last corner. So as we go across the line, wasn't as fast as we could have hoped for, but in the end it doesn't matter. We'll get through into Q2. Then Alonso, you can see, still flying, and we still have a bit of funny business with the qualifying times. We'll see how it goes into Q2 then, but Alonso, as I imagine, is going to be very strong there. But the Red Bull's looking a little bit better, and also the Force Indias have dropped off a little bit, so I imagine they're not going very well in sectors 1 and 3, but maybe quite good in the second sector with a long back straight. But it doesn't really matter here. It's all about more of the downforce. The back straight really won't matter too much in terms of the lap time here in the full wet conditions. And we're at the end of the session then, filled up for 2 laps, and I thought we would have enough time for 2 laps again, one after the other. But actually looking at the timer right now and where we are on circuit, I think I might have mistimed it, and I don't have enough time to actually set another second lap, so it might just be this one and only lap time. As we got on through Saturday, the rain's been letting up though, so technically the track is at a better point right now than it was at the start of Q2, so I was correct to wait a little bit longer to go out for another run, but I definitely mistimed how much time I had to let go to actually get 2 runs in, because you can see 10 seconds to go. I'm not going to make the end of this lap by 10 seconds, so unfortunately I won't get another lap then, and this will be my 1A lap in Q2. It's felt like a pretty okay one there. You can see a little bit of a mistake though on the exit of the second last corner through the last one, nice and tidy, a lot more tidier than we were in Q1, and a run to the line, across the line, and what is it going to be? It's going to be P12. And that is not the news and result we needed here today. for Saturday. Fernando Alonso will make it through into Q3. Of course, there is that chance that the Q3 kind of glitch where the performance of all the cars is at their Season 1 base level. So Alonso might not be guaranteed to be at the sharp end for pole position, but still, that's not ideal for us P12. Because it's raining, it doesn't even mean we get a strategic advantage because everyone can choose their tyres for Sunday. So that is massively on the back foot, not what we needed, and we're going to have to really regroup and make a big comeback here at the USA Grand Prix on Sunday. But you guys know me, you guys know my spirit, never give up, and USA, there's opportunities. It's not a favourite track of mine, it's not a fast track of mine, but there are opportunities, and we know how good the car is, so technically the car should be able to push us forward, and let's try and just limit this damage maybe on Sunday, so let's get into it.
In 2012, America's on-again, off-again love affair with Formula One finally seemed to settle down with the completion of this wonderful racing facility here in Texas. Since then, we've been treated to some incredible races, including, of course, that classic wet-dry championship decider of 2015. We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, around the 20 corners of the wonderful Circuit of the Americas. We'll be reaching speeds of around 200 miles an hour, and there are plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into Turn 1 and the very long back straight into Turn 12. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk briefly about Sebastian Vettel. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be. It's about effective damage limitation.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position today, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hartley, Alonso, Pierre Gasly, and Grosjean, Magnussen, Ocon, Raikkonen, and Sebastian Vettel. The engineer, Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz, and Bottas, Leclerc, Hamilton, Marcus Ericsson, and Sergio Perez. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So there's a bit of light at the end of this tunnel then, because Fernando Alonso wasn't even on the front row of the grid then. Both Red Bulls lock out the front row. Brendan Hartley in third place, and Alonso starts in P4 ahead of Pierre Gasly in P5. So the Red Bull family as a whole trying to do the best they can to help me out there and push Fernando down the order. So P4 is a little bit better for me, so I'm going to feel a bit more positive now going into this race. It's going to be a one-stop for pretty much everyone, I think. Everyone's going to be starting on super softs, all the soft tyre, and then vice versa will be going to the other compound tyre there you can see on the screen, because that is the best and fastest strategy around COTA there. So filling up on plenty of fuel, and we're ready to make this comeback. In the opening stint, we really have to make these overtakes count to try and catch up to Alonso, because he will be very quick on the back of those Red Bull cars. You can bet that for certain. So here we go then. So 5 red lights to the USA Grand Prix, and we're underway. No time to waste. So the lights go out immediately there, and it's a good getaway from us, but an even better one there from Sebastian Vettel. And also on the left of us, Nico Hülkenberg dives down the inside of 1, 2, 3, 4 cars nearly, and Hülkenberg shoots up ahead of Ocon there. We just about managed to get ahead of Kimi Raikkonen there. Initially got bogged down behind Raikkonen and was a little bit stuck behind him and Vettel, but Vettel went a little bit deep into turn 1, and so we're up into P10 already in the points paying positions. But up ahead, I think Alonso's made an okay getaway, but you know what, I think the Toro Rossos might have made an even better one there, because I think there's a Toro Rosso in the lead of this Grand Prix. We'll have to see about that on the replay cameras soon, but at the moment we're focused on trying to overtake Esteban Ocon then in the Force India car. We tried to make something work at the left-hander just after the back straight, but just couldn't make it work. He had a little look at Hülkenberg then, but now as we go through the double right-hander that kind of resembles the backwards turkey corner of turns 7 and 8 back in the day. I think I've got those turns right. As we go down the inside then of Ocon, it's a very nice move down the inside of the second last corner, still side by side through the last, but we're going to squeeze out Ocon as Brendan Hartley sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and the Toro Rosso Kiwi man man leads the USA Grand Prix. Quite unbelievable, but that's good for us because that means Alonso is still not in the lead of this Grand Prix. So as long as that stays put, the better for me, obviously. But let's look at a replay then and see what went on. So it was a front row lockout, obviously, for the Red Bulls, like we said, but I think it's an electric start then for Hartley into turn 1. Yeah, there he goes into the lead, side by side with the Red Bull man. Gasly down the inside of the other Red Bull, and there you can see we nearly get caught up and completely boxed in with the Ferraris, and I just managed to find my way around the outside of Raikkonen, thankfully. But let's ride on board then with Alonso on this start then, and you can see a good picture of the Toro Rosso shooting up down the inside of not only one but two Red Bull cars there. One of the Red Bulls locks up, that's Verstappen, locks up into turn 1, allows Alonso easily through down the inside, and also Pierre Gasly, and Gasly is able to overtake Verstappen through the exit of the turn down the hill into the S section there. But Alonso was given a very easy time by Verstappen with that lockup he had. And then this is the onboard from Hartley. Look at this, the traction he picks up is unbelievable there. And then down the inside of Ricciardo, who is on pole position, a little bit of contact on the right hand side, can't lie, but Hartley does get it fair and square up into P1, Ricciardo P2, and Alonso P3. So that's how it stands for now as we move on now into the middle of lap 2. And we're cashing up to now the German Nico Hülkenberg, the man who did a huge dive bomb on lap 1 to gain about 4 positions. Can we try and now re-overtake him and get the position back up into P8? This will be definitely going to be trying to flex the muscles of this car down this main straight overtake mode and rich mix. You can see we are flying there. No DRS, remember, on lap 2, but just the straight pure speed we have in this car now, having the best engine on the grid by a mile, is going to help us there. So I may lose time now in this stadium section, the right and then to the left, to the very off-camber double left-hander here into the kind of heart of it, but we will gain plenty of time on the straight, so we need to use that to good effect and abuse it basically and try and get as much time as we can on the straight and also the brake zone. But another man who might try and make a move on this straight is Romain Grosjean, I think that is, or it might even be Magnussen, I can't quite tell, but one of the Haas cars is trying to have a look now at Verstappen. Verstappen going quite slow, surprisingly, despite being on the front row at the very start of this Grand Prix. Verstappen very slow, and we use that to our advantage as Grosjean is held up behind Magnussen there, and so a bit of a domino effect from both of them, and so we're finding ourselves around the outside of Grosjean there. He taps us a little bit, so that was very aggressive from the Frenchman. We actually had to go a tiny bit off circuit as the indicator said we extended the circuit, but it was literally one tyre dipping outside the white line, and I think it was fair enough because Grosjean literally slammed into our right hand side there and he tried to take us out. So I was actually quite lucky that we didn't have any damage there, because at Russia that kind of contact was losing me a front wing off. So yeah, very lucky in that kind of perspective. But now we're going to move on onto the main straight on lap 4. I got DRS now on Magnussen, and we're going to make a huge dive down the inside of the Dane, our old teammate from season 1 and season 2, and that's all thanks to Verstappen, to be fair, because Verstappen was very slow into turn 1. He held up Magnussen. You saw in the brake zone Magnussen was a little bit hesitant to turn in, and he kind of went a little bit too deep into the corner, allowing me to make the dive. On the exit there was a tiny bit of contact, so I tried to squeeze him out, but of course desperate times calls for desperate measures really here at USA. I can't leave any inch of this track unturned. I need to make every use of it to try and catch up to these guys, because I'm assuming Alonso will eventually get into the lead of this Grand Prix. At the moment it's led by Toro Rosso, and then you've got Ricciardo in second place. If Hartley leading the race wants to do a Pierre Gasly, his teammate at Singapore, and win the entire thing, I would not be opposed to that, but I'm assuming just because of the pace of our car now from the Japanese Grand Prix that he will eventually get into first place, so I need to get as far up the order as I can. And so with that I make the most horrendous big dive down the inside of Verstappen, and you know what, we make it stick, and that ended up being a fantastic move. I don't want to try and toot my own horn, but that was literally a dive bomb timed to perfection, and the braking, a little bit of a lock-up, but not too much, and so that was near enough a perfect overtake. And really that was just our car being that amazing, because if you've got doubts about that, let's ride on board with Verstappen. Look at a replay. Look how perfect this timing is. That is literally like a choreographed dance there down the inside we went of Verstappen. The moment he turned into the apex was the moment I came through, and we didn't even make any contact there. The puff of smoke off my car was my doing of my lockup. We didn't even make any contact with Verstappen, so a brilliant little move there. But to say that, Verstappen does come back at us, actually, to be fair to him, going down the inside. We go wide into turn 1. We try and do a bit of a switch to try and straighten the car a little bit faster, and we do so, actually, and try and get the traction down and power down faster. And so my engineer says, don't give up, and we don't give up, and into the S section, we get that place back. That time, that was a little bit more harsh on Verstappen than the one I initially made there, but like I said, we need to keep the positions we make today. And to be fair, the only reason I think I was slow into turn 1 because of this. Look at this again. For the second time now in a row, my tyres are overheating and cooking in the internal tyre carcass temperature. So once again, I will admit, I think I lowered the anti-roll bars again, like in Japan. But that gave me the grip I needed in Sector 1. But I think the caveat is, something I'm understanding, is if I lower the anti-roll bars, then that's the thing that's actually working the tyres a little bit too much. So although it's giving me the downforce and the grip in Sector 1 to gain the time I need to, it's not helping the tyres. So we have to try and cool those down and watch out for those. But meanwhile, we've got Ricciardo trying to get the lead of this Grand Prix, the one he lost off pole position. But Hartley, with a lock-up there, still managed to defy him, and he keeps P1. Alonso close behind in P3, Gasly keeping up as well. So the Toro Rossos have some excellent pace, and once again, like Singapore, I think me and the entire paddock are baffled at how the Toro Rossos are doing it. But here goes Alonso now, round the outside of Ricciardo. So what did I say? At some point, Alonso would come chasing and would try and get up into first place eventually. And the first job is he has to try and overtake the Aussie man in second place. And he goes round the outside, those two toe-to-toe. These two have had plenty of battles before. Alonso, though, keeps it on the inside now for the next double right-hander. It's a fantastic move there. Alonso keeps the car level with Ricciardo that entire sector, and just eventually, you know, Ricciardo has to give in and give up the position. And then Alonso now is going to get on the back of Brent Hartley immediately on the very next lap, I think this is, and it's just going to be in before they reach the DRS point. Alonso is going to fly past, so he didn't even need DRS to help. He just had ERS, I'm assuming, an overtake mode, rich mix going, and he's up into first place of the USA Grand Prix. So what did I say? Eventually, he would get into first place. So now it is my job. It's all on me. I am now here. I have to overtake Gasly, Hartley, and Ricciardo before the end of this Grand Prix to even just match the 1-2 we had at Japan and try and close down this gap, because, you know, I'm not going to say we're going to catch Alonso and overtake him for the win. The next best thing I can hope for is that I get into second place to limit the damage of only having 7 points lost rather than 10 or 12 or, you know, God forbid, like 15 or 18 or whatever that we have to Alonso right now in the championship. So, you know, we have a tough job ahead of us, because already in the minimap, as we come in now for a bit of an earlier pit stop, lap 10, my default pit stop indicator was lap 12. So I'm coming in 2 laps earlier, just like we did at Japan, coming in a lot earlier than we wanted to. But these tyres are just not working. I need the soft tyres now, and I've got to pray that these harder compounded tyres can work a little bit better and have a better working range in terms of temperature here. It kind of did happen at Japan, to be fair. I felt a lot better on the mediums, despite them being quite horrendous tyres usually, relative to the other tyres. So we're going to see how this goes. But on the minimap, you would have seen, if you look close enough at where Alonso was whilst we came into the pit stops, he was already a fair bit ahead of Hartley. So I need a big miracle, really, if I want to try and actually catch Alonso in this race. But it's a miracle in itself that I actually get ahead of Marcus Ericsson there, and also the Haas of Romain Grosjean, who pit a lap earlier, or even 2 laps earlier than myself. So very, very big moment there for me to get ahead of those 2 cars, because that's very crucial for me to get enough clean air to then catch up to Valtteri Bottas to overtake him in a straight line very simply there. Obviously, you can see how far the Mercedes now is down in performance at the USA Grand Prix. But, you know, very crucial that we did that, because now the next car along on circuit is Pierre Gasly. Look how much time we've actually gained to the Frenchman there by pitting a lap or 2, or even 2 laps earlier, because it's lap 13 now. And only now is Alonso coming in. So Alonso has gone 3 laps longer than us. So that might be the difference at the end of this Grand Prix. You never know. But it definitely has made a difference compared to the Toro Rossos and where the Red Bull is. I think Hartley is in now for his pit stop. So let's see where Hartley comes out. And also for Ricciardo, I think he's already down out of the pits then, as we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So clearly finding a lot better pace now on these softs. And look at that, Hartley just comes out behind Pierre Gasly then, and so that's going to be Alonso leading the way from Daniel Ricciardo in second place, then the 2 Toro Rossos. So it is game on now to the end of the Grand Prix. I've got to make at least minimum 3 overtakes here just to limit the damage to Alonso in this Grand Prix. And because of that near miss on the pit exit for Hartley v Gasly, I'm already very close then to that first Toro Rosso in the line. So by the time we come through the last corner, then on to the next lap, lap 15 now, we are right behind Hartley and could make a move soon enough maybe into Sector 1. At the moment, we're in lean mixture on the ERS there, I should say, lean ERS deployment, trying to save as much ERS as we can there. We've got half a bar, but the more I can save in Sector 1, the better I'll be on the main straight. But if I can make a move here, even better to just get it over and done with and get onto Gasly straight away. So we're going to have a little look. You can see Hartley loses some time mid-apex there. We have a little bit of a look, and I was so tempted to make a dive there, but last minute it just wasn't going to happen. I could see it before my eyes. Hartley was going to completely squeeze me off circuit there, and it wouldn't have ended well. So we have to stick behind him now in medium ERS still. And normally I would be looking to bump it up into hot lap mode on the exit and then overtake mode eventually on gear 7 and 8 with the DRS and Ricciardo's going in normal circumstances. But you can see there, Hartley gets a great exit and he has DRS himself off Gasly, so it's not the time to be deploying ERS. So actually save some more ERS in lean mixture there. I keep saying mixture, obviously you know what I mean, electrical energy. And as we come through the last corner onto lap 16 now, the next lap, this is when I can deploy overtake mode, DRS this time round, Rich Mix going, and now we're going to make a dive down the inside of Brendan Hartley there, lock up on the front left there, no contact made. Hartley though sees me in the mirrors and backs off a little bit and effectively scare him through turn 1, and we get that position up into P4. Obviously I don't know if he was told about my big ass dive bomb on Max Verstappen, but that's what happens sometimes in F1. If you make bold moves, sometimes psychologically you break up the drivers and they just give the position to you sometimes into the apex, and that's exactly what happens with Hartley. And now we catch up to his teammate on lap 17 and looking to make a move for P3 in this Grand Prix and move swiftly up the order once again. DRS open into turn 1 though, nothing able to work there. Gasly a bit too far ahead, but we do gain some time in the apex of turn 1. So as we swing through down the hill now into sector 1, it didn't work for us against Hartley, but this time I'm so much closer than Gasly than I was to Hartley. So here we go on the right-hander, finding the space and the grip on the right-hander to the left-hander, and this time we do make the move down the inside, and that is a textbook move there, and that is a championship kind of move there. That is a crucial overtake to get up into P3, and now we have a lot of clean air to chase after Dan Ricciardo. That's the kind of move you watch back on a highlight reel and think it was because of that move that he might have won the championship. It certainly felt like that at the time in the cockpit for me, because that was a very bold move, because I know how easily the AI can squeeze you in that particular corner there on this game. So definitely was a bit of a heart and mouth moment waiting for Gasly to give me the room. But now we move on to lap 18, 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and it's one of very much clever management here in this race now. I'm deploying ERS and fuel on the main straight there, but then immediately you can see in sectors 3 and 1 I'm bumping down the ERS to low and lean on purpose to save ERS in sectors 1 and 3 and deploying it all on the straight, because my thinking was the Red Bull, that's where it's losing most of the time to me, probably on the straight. So tactically now for the next 3 laps basically I'm tactically going to lean and low in first sector and third sector and trying to deploy it all in sector 2, and eventually that's going to mean by lap 20 we're right at the back of Dan Ricciardo, and again we play it patient. We go down to medium and then low, and we're still in standard mixture here at the moment, saving fuel, saving ERS, and just patiently waiting for our time to pounce on the main straight. There's no point fighting Ricciardo here in these corners. Unlike the Toro Rosso car, Ricciardo is going to have the downforce in these corners, but on the straight, that Red Bull car is piss poor. So it's just about waiting for the opportunity and making the pass when we make the pass. We saw how easy we got past Bottas, Verstappen, and so here we go now onto the main straight. We'll have DRS, we bump it up into Rich Mix, overtake mode going, and so it's going to be a very simple pass on the right hand side, and we go up into P2 and we make it a 1-2 for McLaren F1 once again in a Grand Prix here at the USA Grand Prix. But you can see Alonso is quite a fair bit ahead of us. He's 9 point something ahead of us right now, and as much as I tried to push as hard as I could in the last 8 laps, I just did not have enough grip and tyre weather. It was basically the end game of the Grand Prix, obviously. Everything winds down, and the gap actually grew to 11 seconds by the end of it. So, in the end, it is going to be a 1-2 for McLaren, but not the way I wanted it. Fernando Alonso is going to win the USA Grand Prix. I'm going to come home in second place, so we lose another 7 points to Alonso. So the gap is going to shrink from 18 to 11. That's not ideal, but it's the best scenario I could have hoped for today. Remember how badly we qualified. You know, I couldn't have held that anymore, really. It was wet conditions. This circuit in particular, you know, it was nothing I could do really about it, and we just had to make the most of it here on Sunday today, and that's what we did.
Yes, that's a podium. Excellent drive. The team have worked especially hard this weekend, and this is a fantastic reward.
McLaren have pulled it off. They've won in spectacular fashion here today. So, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You can tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. But credit to the driver as well though, there's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So there we have it. Alonso gets another win on the trot there at the USA Grand Prix, but it's a second 1-2 in a row for McLaren there. Alonso, even on the fastest lap pace, was the faster man today, so I can only say fair play. And obviously he did the job in quali, I did not, and we did the best job we could though. I think that was one of the best drives actually of the season so far for me personally, in terms of, you know, making the overtakes count when I need to make them count. You know, a la the overtake on Gasly, Verstappen, probably two of my favourite overtakes this season so far in the McLaren car. Obviously we wrapped up the constructors, so that's not a worry. So we just go into the questions then from Claire, and then we're going to round out the episode with some R&D work.
The fans really seemed to enjoy that. You made it look easy. You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
Obviously, you saw today on the main straights, the power unit was a big plus, so we're going to complement the power unit structure there and try and give them a morale boost.
Another podium. You must be getting used to it up there.
Going to play into my showmanship, because at this point in the career, looks like I'm a bit more of a showmanship than a sportsmanship kind of guy, so going to play into that on the right-hand side answer there. Getting too used to it.
You had a close battle today, didn't you?
And once again, going to play into that showmanship and also be a bit kind of, I don't know, heated in a way and say Alonso's a thorn in my side to this title rivalry. Of course it kind of is.
Do you think that you learned a lot from your rivalry?
And this question was actually because I think Fernando Alonso has actually beaten me in our fourth teammate rivalry comparison. So I'm going to say I think I need to start looking for a new team, because it is true, obviously, I'm going to move away for Season 4.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And so that caused a rep decrease for McLaren. But if this was real life, I think I probably would say that in a way, because it is a little bit frustrating like this. You know, the championship is getting closer and closer and getting tenser and tenser for myself. And it's kind of annoying in a way. Obviously, it's great for you guys maybe, but it is a little bit tense because, you know, we go to Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. I know I'll be good at Mexico. I actually like Mexico in this game quite a fair bit. Brazil, I will be once again as weak as I was here at Austin. I think Brazil and USA are not great circuits for me, like the same. And then Abu Dhabi, I'm a little bit in the middle. It can go either way. I could be great at Abu Dhabi or mediocre, so you have to watch out for that. But the crucial thing is there, Mexico, the next race, I'm confident I can try and turn the tides on Alonso, and we need to for the sake of feeling more comfortable into those last two rounds. But anyway, like I said, we're going to do some R&D work, not actually buying upgrades, but I said I was going to, you know, wait and save up resource points and then do some adapting. I thought I may as well do some adapting right now and kind of show you guys what I'm going to do, basically, with the adaptions here. Now, some of you guys have been asking why on earth I'm going to adapt some parts, because I'm going to be leaving this team. But I've said it before, it was the same thing with Haas. You got to remember, guys, as much as I try and bring a bit of sense of story and a bit of realism to the series of trying to pretend like everything's real, it is a video game at the end of the day. And in the video game, the AI obviously can't do anything whilst I'm not doing anything. You know, other teams are adapting their parts right now. It is unfair for me to abuse the game mechanics and not adapt any parts from McLaren and just leave them hanging, because if they were an AI team, if I wasn't driving for McLaren right now and they still had this amazing car, they would obviously adapt parts themselves as an AI team, but the game leaves the player to do that whilst you drive for the team. So I'm not going to ever abuse that mechanic and not adapt parts just because I know I'm leaving the team. It's actually something you guys got pissed off at me in 2017 when I said I was going to sabotage Mercedes when I moved to them for the second season in a row. I kind of find that odd in a way that some of you guys are now questioning that decision, but that's the way it's going to be. That's the way I want to play this career mode. I don't want to have any fishy, underhanded tactics and making teams weaker on purpose by not adapting parts. So I will adapt the parts, and I'll, you know, try and do the best job I can at adapting the parts. So in that respect, I'm going to go for a few ultimate upgrades and also some major upgrades. You can see I balanced it out with having a major front downforce and a major rear downforce there. So I'm kind of helping the team balance out their downforce and where it is. We've got two ultimate upgrades adapted, which was the drag reduction and the weight reduction, and also some major for the drag and weight reduction. So a fair few parts adapted there. But you can see, actually, to be fair, even though I had that many points, I actually overestimated how many points I had, because I still have so many parts that are going to get wiped into Season 3 to Season 4 for McLaren. So as much as even I'm trying to help the team out, McLaren, because they developed so much in their chassis and aero department, they are going to get screwed a little bit into Season 4. They are going to lose a lot of their development, but I'm trying my best to help them out into Season 4 by adapting plenty of their parts there. But guys, if you did enjoy that Grand Prix, then smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, you can subscribe to a weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.